So happy June. I am titling June for you, Keep Going. I know this is a different format. I'm really late to getting these horoscopes out. I'm a bit under the weather as well, and I'm experimenting. So I have Virgo in my South Node in my fifth house of creative projects. So I really am doing my best to release perfectionism and lean into the North Node in Pisces energy of going with the flow when it comes to my 11th house of online communications and communities. So anyway, and as always, I welcome your feedback. So here's how the reading's going to go. First, we're going to look at the big picture story playing out in the background, and that's Pluto retrograde in Aquarius. Subconsciously, I think that it's driving all of our decisions. Then we're going to dive into the data energy at play. So if you were born closer to August 23rd, you're going to benefit, you could benefit more from listening to Leo's horoscope. If your birthday's closer to September 22nd, you could also check out Libra. Please watch your rising sign first. It's the motivation for a living. It also dictates actually how the energy stacks on the wheel. Then you can listen to your sun sign because it focuses more on your career, what brings you joy, followed by the moon sign. And I consider it a secret gem because it reflects our emotions in our private life, especially what's happening at home. So there are two powerful moons this month. We've got the full moon in Sag and the new moon in Cancer. So for me, again, I do like to listen to my moon sign. I gain value from that. Okay, but let's dive in. Starting on May 4th, Pluto right here started going retrograde in Aquarius, and it's going from 3 to 1 degrees until mid-October. So if you have any planets or points or nodes in the early degrees of Aquarius, you're going to feel this more intensely. Retrogrades, as you know, are times to reflect and reassess and rework our plans, and Aquarius is about freedom and liberation. It's a sign that marches to the beat of its own drum, let's say. For you, the energy lands in your sixth house of work, health, and daily routines. Also pets. So you may be changing where you're working or considering a new job. You may be readjusting your relationship with your coworkers. Perhaps happy hours are no longer of interest, or you're sick of the water cooler gossip. Or this could be about fitness and diet. I know Ozempic is all the rage, but overall wellness doesn't really beat water, good night's sleep, moving your body. And any of all of these things have you reworking your daily schedule as you prioritize your work and your health. Or maybe you're just reconsidering getting a little pet and how that will change your lifestyle and routine. But since this is Pluto, the changes are likely happening because of some kind of pivotal moment that calls for a transformation in your life, like the loss of a job, a blowout with a coworker, or some kind of out of the blue diagnosis. For a little more color, Pluto is also connected to your third house right here of communications, technology, contracts, media related projects, as well as like local hangouts, neighbors, and relatives. So you could be using new technology at work for your health or to organize your schedule. You might hire a business coach or a nutritionist. You could be taking walks around your neighborhood to clear your mind after work and be more health conscious. Or maybe a sibling or neighbor is encouraging you to make these changes, or a new pet requires you to get out there more. If you do work in sales, marketing, or healthcare, I think that this is a really great time to rebrand yourself. Think websites, vlogs, apps, public speaking. At the onset of this transit, you do have a square right here to Venus in your ninth house of education, long distance travel, entrepreneurship, and your beliefs. So I think use the retrograde wisely here. This is not a time to shell out money for any expensive course or proposal. I think an offer might present as too good to be true. This is about research and refining agreements and plans, even if the changes you're making are sudden with Uranus in Taurus. That's right on your MC, by the way, so that's career. Okay, so that's all happening in the background. Now let's move a little bit to the day. Let's move to the day to day. And we're going to narrow in on Venus. So on June 6th, Venus, the planet of love, money, and values, moved into its home sign of Taurus, which is grounded and sensual. And we already know that there is a square right here to Pluto in your 6th house of work and health and schedule. But Venus has a sextile right here to Jupiter. And Jupiter is the planet of wisdom and optimism. And it's sitting at the tail end of your 10th house, which includes your career, your role in society, parenting, and public reputation. So I'm not saying throw that offer away that we talked about or kick your love interest to the curb. I'm suggesting a slow and steady approach to make sure your values and lifestyle match, especially since Venus is also tied to your 2nd house of personal finances, income, material possessions, and self-worth. Anything that you deem valuable. So this could very well mean spending money on business, a trip, or education if you see the long-term potential between now and Independence Day. Okay, then on the 9th, Jupiter is going to enter Cancer, activating your 11th house of groups, gains, and goals over the next year. So this area of your chart includes your social life, networking, profits, and big picture plans. Jupiter expands. It's also about wisdom. It's associated with your 4th house of home, family, real estate, parents in the past. So it's possible you sell your home and you make a profit, or you move into a larger home, or you build an addition, or your family expands. Maybe a parent does come to live with you. Jupiter is also connected to your 7th house of committed partnerships and self-awareness. So anyone who you have a contractual obligation to, like a spouse, a business partner, your client, your healthcare provider, if this is personal, you could be taking your relationship to the next level and moving in with someone, or again, expanding your family with children. If this is business, you might negotiate an agreement with your business partner to work from home and build yourself a home office or launch a home-based venture. At the onset of the transit, you do have a trine to Mars and Leo in your 12th house right here. So I think that this is a really introspective and private time for you, maybe because a long-term dream is finally taking shape, or your chart ruler is sitting right next to Jupiter. That's Mercury. So there could be a lot of logistics and communications involved in what's going on. You do have squares right here to Neptune and Neptune and Saturn and Aries in your 8th house of joint resources. So I think this is definitely involving other people's money in some way, like a mortgage or taxes on a property, or this could be some kind of fear that's being stirred associated with trust and commitment, right? If you're making some kind of big moves in your home life, or in your career, that can sure be scary. Fear of failure, fear of debt. If this does have to do with an aging parent, it might bring up fears of death. So I'm sorry. I'm always going to share the positives and the challenges. I personally like to know any way the energy can go so I can emotionally prepare myself for it at least. So even when Jupiter is involved, there's always two sides because that is life. Okay, so now all this energy is going to lead up to the 11th, and that's going to be the new moon in Sagittarius. It's happening at 1 degree. Oh, Kathryn Ann, hours, moving it back. We want to get it at 21, which does mean having a plan. Wish I had a plan for these horoscopes. Anyway, the moon is ruled by Jupiter, so we've talked a lot about that already. It's going to carry the same themes, but full moons are completions, they're turning points, they're endings. Again, this energy is activating your home life. And that can mean family, it can mean real estate, parents, ancestors in the past. So this could be the day when you sell your property or you find a new home and tell your parents that you're moving. This could be when your parents finally agree to receiving some support. And If you do have a monumental shift in your family, you could be thinking a lot about your childhood and how you were raised has influenced your relationships over the years. Because remember, Jupiter is associated with, for you, with partnerships and self awareness. So I think this is going to be an extra emotional full moon for you. I think the beautiful news is there is a positive aspect to Chiron right here in your eighth house of shared assets and deep emotional bonds and intimacy. And Chiron is the asteroid of deep-rooted trauma. But when it's in a trine to the moon like that, I think that whatever you're releasing or letting go or completing, it feels cathartic. It's a healing moment for you. There's also a trine to Mars in Aries in your 12th house. And I think this does call for healing something very personal, and you can do that through a meditation practice, a spiritual development practice, over leaning on vices or turning a blind eye or procrastinating, hiding under the covers, that kind of stuff. Now, given there are squares to the north and the south node, squares to the north node in Pisces, squares to the north node in Pisces, in your 7th house of committed partnerships. Yeah, I mean, this definitely could mean a big breakup. And remember, partnerships can be romantic or platonic. It can point to a very challenging or pivotal moment in your relationship, but it's divinely timed because we are talking about the North Node here. With the South Node in your first house of identity, maybe it's just because, you are entering into a committed partnership and you're letting go of the identity of being single to embrace the union like marriage, or vice versa, you're letting go of being part of a couple to embrace independence. Yeah, this is a pretty intense full moon for you, for sure. Okay, now let's go to the 15th. Now, I told everyone the 15th through the 18th is when we're going to kind of have when we are going to have our red flag days of the month. So the first thing that I want to talk about is Mars in Leo squaring Uranus in Taurus. Mars turns up the heat. And the Sagittarius full moon, I think, was some kind of catalyst. And now this is the aftermath, so to speak. Mars is about action and drive. He's literally known as the warrior. In the 12th house, he can either be aggressive or he can be passive aggressive. And this can lead to self-sabotage and addictions, but it can also motivate someone to be the change. Now, the square involves a tension or conflict. With what? Uranus is about sudden change, especially when activated by a powerhouse like Mars. It can be innovative, but it can also be really disruptive, and squares mean conflict and tension. So the energy is in your 9th house of legal matters, education, long distance travel, and what you believe in, from religion to politics. So the tug of war between your private life and what's happening publicly is where the tension lies, and this can definitely be uncomfortable. It's like smiling through your teeth. So I want you really to lean into Jupiter and the Sun energy in your 11th house of friendships and big picture thinking. Lead by example for the greater good. Surround yourself with supportive people. This does involve a wound triggered by merging your resources right here. Or being vulnerable at the end of the day with Chiron in your 8th house, but you are healing something. See, there's still that trine to Mars in your 12th to Chiron in the 8th. Also on the 15th, we've got Jupiter in Cancer squaring Saturn in Aries. So if it's not one thing, it's another. Jupiter is expanding your social life, your profits, your goals, and the Sun is making these areas very public. So Jupiter is your home life and your partnerships, and Saturn rules is about rules and restrictions and karma. So he's pressing on your eighth house of joint resources and intimacy. And this again can include debt, taxes, insurance, secrets, fears around trust, rejection, commitment. And since Saturn rules over your dating life and hobbies and children, as well as your work, your health, and your routines, I think these areas are being impacted by the strain to your joint resources and maybe drudging up some of your fears. Like, if I leave my partner, how am I going to take care of my kids? Or how will the financial impact my lifestyle? Or, if I merge my resources with someone, will they take advantage of me? How do I know that they love me for me? Or what I can give them, what I can provide. So I think that these are legitimate concerns. If you are feeling them, I validate you. Now we're going to move on to the 18th. And it's almost a similar setup here, but now we're going to be focused on Neptune. Jupiter is still in Cancer. It's squaring now Neptune in Aries. So friends, networking, the money that you make, your long-term goals is in tension with other people's money or trust, which is also impacting your home life, your children, your lifestyle. And it's causing major confusion, Neptune, in your committed partnerships, in your seventh house. So this is tough, but there is a sliver of hope because Mars has now moved in to your sign. And that's your first house of body, physical appearance, your identity, how others see you. So the universe is giving you the courage to make it through these challenges. You have to have a plan. You have to do you. You have to pay attention to the details. Mars is the warrior, so he will help you navigate through the Neptunian haze, I think. Okay? So now, some brighter days as we close out the month. On the 24th, Jupiter and the Sun combine at an exact degrees, forming a Cazimi. And the Sun, of course, is how we all shine. It's connected to your 12th house of sacrifices and healing. Jupiter is your home life and your partnerships. And this energy is expanding your social life gains and wishes. So I say on the 24th, go out with your friends. Get out of your head on this day. Move your body, listen to music. There's going to be tension and confusion around your joint resources and trust in your close relationships still, but I think you got to take a break. It's possible that you actually gain clarity in this area when you stop hyper-focusing on the issue. Okay, and now your last major event of the month is going to be the new moon in Cancer. It's happening at 4 degrees. And this is time for a new story. And I think that you should set new intentions around how you attract a support system. So this can be reconnecting with your friends, joining a mastermind to help you make more money. I think you should narrow in on a long-term goal and reverse engineer what you need to do and who's going to help you achieve it. Honestly, with Neptune in the mix, you're going to have to jump without a net. But Saturn is going to help you remain disciplined. And again, Mars is lighting a fire under you. So even with a support team, I think you got this. So be well, Virgo. Happy June.
If you found value in your forecast, please pay it forward by subscribing to the channel, posting a comment, and clicking on the notification bell. Transcripts are posted on astrocoachkate.com, where you can find all the ways to train with me and book a free discovery call.